How I made a 3D level in a 2D game. Now, as we all know, Geometry Dash is a 2D game. Somehow, this Sputniks guy made a 3D level out of it. This is the best GD video of all time? Huh, I guess I'll be the judge of that. How impressive can a 3D level in a 2D game where the game is specifically designed and built to only handle 2 dimensions, and through some kind of miraculous, unparalleled level of skill and ingenuity, someone is able to create a 3rd dimension in a 2D game? What was I saying? How could that possibly be construed as impressive? Let's see.
What you're watching right now is a custom level entirely within the 2D mobile game Geometry Dash. Now, you might think this is a
This looks like it was done in Blender.
weird mod or something, but no.
This can't be, wait, is this real?
Oh, this is just the most complex
Is this clickbait? No way.
Geometry Dash level ever made. Everything in this level is made entirely out of 2D Geometry Dash objects, and they all become 3D through their own.
Dude, this is like in the previous video, and I was like, oh, can people just import images into their levels? And then people were like, no, that frog toad guy in the background, people just made out of objects. I can play it now?
Illusions and magic tricks. Like, look at this tunnel in the background, for example. This looks
oh, dude, this looks like it's from Day of the Tentacle. You're all too young to know what the Day of the Tentacle is, but it looks like the part where they're going through the portal.
completely impossible to make out of just Geometry Dash objects, but when you understand how it works, it's actually quite simple. See, if you've ever looked into a spinning spiral like this one, you'll
All the
notice
time.
that it kind of looks like everything is getting smaller and moving towards the center.
It really
Which is
does.
also what happens when you move away from something.
This is called a vanishing point in perspective drawing. Did you know that? I bet y'all didn't know that I knew that. Dude, I have so much accumulated random knowledge. Dude, if I ever went on Jeopardy, I would probably get like negative 8,000 points because I have a false sense of confidence and security in the random bits and bobs of knowledge I have. But I would at least get on the show.
Thing in 3D space. Everything gets smaller as it gets further away from you. Now, this spiral doesn't look 3D yet, but that's just because the points in this spiral are moving at a constant speed, while in 3D, things going
Wait, dude, we're learning about math and stuff. Wait, this might be one of my favorite videos so far. Liked? I'm gonna hold off on subscribing for now because I have a feeling he's really gonna knock my socks off pretty soon.
away moves slower and slower. If we change the curvature of the spiral arms, we can actually make them move in the same way things do in 3D space. And if we now make a second spiral, flip it and make it rotate the other way, and put the 2 spirals on top of each other, we get a quite convincing 3D tunnel illusion. This is pretty cool, but let's...
Dude, that, oh! If you combine 2D, it makes 3D. Yeah, it does make sense. Like art and perspective theory, freaking thousands of years ago, they figured out through the power of perspective in visual art to be able to create 3D illusions. Wait, this makes so much sense that obviously, given 2D assets, if you just do the right mathematic thing, you can still do it.
Let's take it a few steps further. We can make the spiral arms solid by creating them out of slope and square objects, but this of course hides the second spiral. And we can't really make it transparent because that'll ruin the effect. Except if we use colors that max out one or more of the RGB channels of the color and then set them to blending, the overlaps between the objects will be hidden. And if we combine this with some clever layering and some shading, we get a pretty cool looking, realistic 3-dimensional tunnel made entirely out of spinning Geometry Dash objects. Wow,
That previous explanation, I'm not gonna lie. I could pretend to say that I understood that. This is one of those classic like capital Y YouTube video things where it's just like you kind of just gotta trust what the guy just said makes sense and keep watching.
that's pretty neat. I said 2 years ago, and it could have ended there, should have ended there. But no, because I'm a level creator and nothing I make has any value unless it ends up as a 60-second level on the Geometry Dash servers. Now,
Do level creators actually feel that way? Like, do level creators in Geometry Dash really, they don't do it out of the, well, I guess I can't even talk because the reason why I make content is because I want it to be like the most banginest content that it could ever be. I guess that's just creators in general. They want their work to be on some kind of leaderboard where people are like, wow, this is you really did something that is remarkable. Good job. And then you get like a gold star on your t-shirt. Then you try to take the gold star off, but it has that little bit of smush on it. The smush. And it's like this tactile, horrible sensation. It feels gross. You guys clearly don't understand what I'm saying. I know what I'm talking about. It feels weird when a sticker leaves residue on your shirt.
I could just use this tunnel thing in the background of a normal level, but wouldn't it be pretty cool if I just kept making these kinds of 3D illusions until I get a whole level that's entirely 3D?
You want your work to be something people actually care about. Yes, exactly. The kind of work that could warrant a sticker being put on your shirt, even if when it's taken off, it feels kind of weird and icky.
Surely it can't be that hard. Of course, to convince your brain that you're looking at something truly three-dimensional, everything in the level has to be a convincing 3D illusion. Like, even the player. Look at the player in this part.
You yap too much? I haven't even begun to yap.
It's actually completely fake. The real player is actually squished strangely up at the top here in an entirely different game mode. See, we can't really use the built-in Geometry Dash game modes for this level because... well,
so this isn't even in a wave. He had to create something kind of crazy.
Well, they're in the wrong number of dimensions. So instead, we have to hide the real
Yo, chat, don't get baited. They're just being a dick.
Player and construct a fake player from the ground up. Programmed using triggers and visualized using illusions to
keep the cortisol low, chat. That people are dicks sometimes.
behave exactly like the player usually does in the game, except one dimension higher. This fake player is made up of two components, the head and the trail. The head is actually pretty simple. It just goes through 7 frames of rotation every time the wave changes direction, which it does every time this touch trigger detects that the player is pressing a button. And each one of those rotation frames also has 10 different perspective variations, which just means I had to hand make 70 different precise pyramid shapes out of slopes and squares.
Dude, this reminds me of spriting. Like, have y'all ever gotten into spriting for games? You just have to make like a whole sprite sheet of so many different angles. This is so much effort.
This was not the part that started my descent into math.
No, okay. So I'm just gonna ban this guy because you guys are still interacting with this guy who clearly just wants attention. Guys, move on. We're watching a video. Move on.
This is
on your own is insane. I'm saying, dude.
It's made out of hundreds of layers of ellipses which all mimic the movement of the head, but with more and more delay, making the movements appear to cascade through them. Now, this doesn't sound too bad, but to make it look
it's all good. We're fine.
dimensional, we obviously have to make the ellipses and their movement bigger as they get closer to you. But to make the way
this was made without 2.2 features, by the way. What does that mean? Like, what did 2.2 introduce that would help someone who is trying to make a 3D level in a 2D game make their life easier?
they get bigger fit in with all the other 3D illusions.
It looks kind of like, have y'all ever, no, a lot of you are you've just been born. But back in like, I think it was like Windows 2000 or something, or around that era, there used to be this screensaver that was a bunch of pipes moving around on the screen. Some people know what I'm talking about, and some of you don't. It's going to be okay. I'd look it up, but we're already 4 minutes into this video, and I think I've talked too much.
In this part, this has to be done in a really mathematically specific way. So to figure that out,
oh, it added a lot of stuff? Oh.
I recreated the camera angle in the 3D modeling software so that I could
oh, there's a gradient trigger that can basically do 3D modeling due to its vertex feature? Okay. Well, thank you for bringing that up, chat. That means that this is even more impressive because it was before 2.2, and we would be remiss to not highlight that.
And draw out 14 different realizations of ellipses, which I can then overlap on
okay, I knew Math Genius knew. I knew Math Genius would know.
top of each other and measure, before putting all the values into an exponential regression model so that I could get a continuous function for the amplification of the movement.
Dude, not a regression model, bro. That's like, you hear regression model and immediately you're just like, okay, this guy knows ball. Have y'all heard of a regression model before? That's like something, if you're ever at dinner with like random people, if you just like pepper in regression model into what you're saying, their jaws are going to drop. They're going to be like, whoa, this guy really knows what he's talking about. A regression model, you say? Wow. Ooh.
At the position of each ellipse. That's the easy part. The hard part is to actually make these ellipses move with the correct delay at all. See, the normal way to do this is with a spawn trigger, but its delay is actually based on the frame rate of the game, which makes it way too imprecise to make a
dude, look at how it oscillates. Oh, dude, it's like a sine wave.
Smooth trail.
Or something.
Luckily, we have the follow player Y trigger, whose delay is not based on frame rate.
Sputnik's made a website where you can transform any image into Obama. Yeah, but like, what's the you can't put links in chat, but like how would I even be able to find that website just so I could like not go to it?
And it was almost perfect. But for some ungodly reason, RobTop decided to arbitrarily hard limit this delay to 0.01 seconds, which is still too imprecise. So instead,
It's called Obamafy. All right. I'm not going to write it down right now, just having a quick note to myself, but yeah, I mean, that sounds pretty cool, but I'm not really that interested in it. Definitely not just going to pull that up and look at it for like 2 hours before bed tonight.
I had to invent an entirely new technique where the ellipses are grouped into 0.01 second interval segments, and each group has 2 copies where one copy slopes up.
Can I just say, some people are so smart. I know sometimes in these reacts, I try to like make very like astute and interesting observations. We're 5 minutes in, I don't know what's happening right now. I feel stupid and contagious. Here you are now, entertain us.
And one copy slopes down at very specific inclinations so that I could switch between them based on the slope of the curve at that group's position, which made it barely possible to make a smooth looking trail at the cost of taking literally a month to figure out and build, which is already a frankly unreasonable amount of time to spend on a Geometry Dash level.
Like someone like this definitely doesn't have ADHD, right? Like they probably have another kind of neurospiciness, but if you had ADHD, you could never like dedicate yourself to this level of depth and understanding of something. It's incomprehensible.
Let alone
unless like, you know, you took whatever people take to Adderall. That isn't, I'm not, that PSA, I'm not saying to do that. Unless you get a prescription from a doctor.
Single element of it. It is all because of these stupid arbitrary limitations. But hey, you did it, me. I mean, at this point, you might as well send RobTop a video of the level just to say fuck your stupid, arbitrary, dumb, stupid limitations. But don't actually
Why was he so
say
mean?
that, of course. That would be mean, and I guess it's not really his fault you were compelled by some mysterious force to attempt to make a 3D version of his 2D mobile game inside itself.
Wow, T just told me to take Adderall. Chat, can we clip that? I was saying don't do that unless you can.
He's also
Or unless a doctor says you can. Sorry.
spent the last 5 years working on this gigantic update to the game. One that will change everything so fundamentally that it'll basically just make it a different game entirely. Which really puts a hard deadline on this.
Controversial opinion and take, chat. I don't like platformer levels. I'm not saying they're bad. I don't like them. If I wanted to play a platformer level, I'd boot up Celeste. This
whole level you're making, since if you take too long, suddenly the game you're making it in will just stop existing. And this update seems to be just a few months away.
Oh, it's not a hot take? Well, I stand by.
So actually, you probably won't be able to finish the level in time anyways. I mean, it's been almost 2 months and all you have is a sperm cell on an LSD trip. It's sad, but sometimes you just have to let things go. And wait, hold on. He actually replied?
Bro, talk to Robert Topola. Robert Topola? Robert Topolot? King Topolot? 5'5"?
Man, your 11-year-old self sure would be extremely excited right now. He seems kind of impressed as well. I guess seeing stuff like this might be one of the things that motivates him to keep developing this singular update for 5 years. Man, imagine spending multiple years on a single project. Why would you put yourself through that? Anyways, it doesn't even really matter, cause again, you're definitely not continuing this project. There's no way you'll even get close to finishing it before the update, and even if you did, it would just be an enormous waste of— Take a look at these 3D mountains.
Wow.
To make them, I first designed them in the 3D modeling software, and then I wrote a script that takes each triangle
I just saw lines of code!
in the mountain mesh and finds
Sorry. For those of you who don't know, I worked 4 years as a software developer, and I'm still trying to recover from that.
the intersection between the triangle and a vertical plane, which gives us a line we can attach a Geometry Dash object to. If we run this script for every triangle in the mesh, adding one object wherever there's an overlap, we can now build any 2D slice of these mountains out of just Geometry Dash objects. If we now make 300 of these 2D slices on top of each other, and scale the slices in the back down and the ones
Will you watch 43K people build a game next that won the best GD video of 2025? I do think I want to watch that next week, yeah.
In the front up, we suddenly
But right now I'm watching this.
have a projection of this 3D model made entirely out of moving 2D objects. Now, let's add the player to this part. Faking the physics of this game mode with just
I'm a player.
triggers is actually surprisingly complicated. So the first thing I did was that I made a programming language that lets me write code that turns into geometry dash triggers, which means I could write all the complicated physics in my abstracted language and have my compiler compile it into actual geometry dash triggers in the level. To make the cube look 3-dimensional, I split it into 6 layers where the layers in the back are a tiny bit smaller and a tiny bit slower than the layers in the front, making it look like the player shifts in perspective as it jumps up and down. Now, our player is currently jumping in midair, which is a sign that it might be time to add some platforms and obstacles. And it's at this point things start to get kind of crazy, because to anyone who's ever made something into geometry,
Yeah, he made an entire coding language for this. Yeah, he's just insane, bro. If I could, I mean, to be fair, like, a lot of times the level of dedication and effort in a YouTube video can become easily understated. It's like, have you guys ever watched like an engineering YouTube video where the guys are just like, yeah, so I built this whole robot that also has this whole bunch of code that it executes off of, and that happens in the span of 1 minute, versus like, even in this video, Sputnik's mentions like, yeah, this took months. You know what I'm saying? It's amazing how you can just abstract away months of effort in a YouTube video to just one line in a script that's just like, so yeah, I did this thing. Where do you even learn these skills? Huh. Yeah, just ask ChatGPT about it. You just say, hey, ChatGPT, make me a YouTube video. Spits it out. Spits it out these days.
dash editor, these obstacles look just completely impossible on several levels. Like, these cubes are scaling and warping as they move closer to you, but there is no scale trigger in Geometry Dash, at least not until the giant update Robtop is making, which is still just a few months away, somehow. Now, in the preview I released for this level, I did sort of imply that these cubes were made by using
Dude, for any of you who were around when the preview came out, did it break the internet? Like, I'm talking break the internet like when Kim Kardashian shot like the thing over her head and it landed in a glass on her derriere. Did it break the internet? Like, were GD players like, yo, what, this level's in 3D? I bet that was super sick.
thousands of rotate and move triggers to sort of puppeteer a bunch of objects around. And this led to some people trying and failing to recreate this effect themselves. What they didn't realize was that it actually employed this clever tactic called lying. Look, most of these triggers are spawn triggered with no group. They do nothing. The technique I actually used is one that I think is much more fascinating and unique, and is actually pretty similar to how real computers render 3D objects. See,
can we just... The way I came up with is very similar to how real computers render 3D objects. Like, what, dude, what, like, how do you know that?
in computer graphics, everything in the 3D world is made out of
I've clown chat before. This is clearly a guy who knows how to read books.
triangles, but unfortunately, it turns out to be impossible to make an arbitrary triangle out of Geometry Dash objects.
There's no way this guy hasn't read a whole book on 3D rendering. I defy you to say that it was something else that got him to know ball like this.
Since the thinnest angle we can create with them is this 26.6 degree slope. No matter how we arrange any of these thousands of types of objects, you cannot make a shape with a smaller clean angle than 26.6 degrees. And an arbitrary triangle could of course have as small angles as it pleases. We could try and make a fake angle with some lines or by using a fractal pattern, but as you'll see in a bit, it's also really important that this uses the absolute minimum amount of objects possible. So instead of making a triangle, let's make a cube.
I need you to hold my hand every single time you make a statement in this video and explain it to me like I am 2 years old. Why it does that?
This might seem even more impossible at first, but the added complexity actually turns out to make a cube possible
because GD has limits? Oh, that makes sense!
To create, even if a triangle is not. See, if you think about it, no matter how you move or spin it around, you can only ever see 3 sides of a cube at once. And if we look at these 3 faces on
I actually did know this because, like, as some of you know, like, I do draw sometimes, and I know this from perspective. I do know, like, the 3 sides thing. When you're drawing a 3D object, at max, you see three sides. It's interesting.
Image, there will almost always be at least one face where all 4 of its angles are above 26.6 degrees. Let's call
that's right, 26.6, yep.
this the front face, since it's usually the side of the cube that's pointing towards you. Since the front face only has legal angles, we can pretty easily construct it out of Geometry Dash objects by putting one slope on each edge and then filling in the middle with squares or something. Now, the other two faces probably have some illegal angles, but with a little...
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I was thinking these other shapes probably had some illegal angles. I'm glad Sputnik said that, because it would be a real oversight if he didn't.
trick, we can actually construct them correctly anyways. If we look at the angles that are touching the front face, we can fill them in by hiding the excess of the slope under the face.
Hiding the excess of the slope under the...
we already made.
Under the face we already made. Yeah, exactly.
The other angles of the face will still have to be above 26.6 degrees, but again, almost always, at least one of the two remaining faces will have these two angles legal, which means we can construct it. The last remaining face will almost definitely have a lot of illegal angles, but that doesn't really matter because 3 of its 4 angles are guaranteed to touch either the front face or the second face. And the last angle is actually guaranteed to be above 90 degrees because it's on the corner of the cube. By following this algorithm,
It feels like I'm back in school. Nah, bro, just sometimes when you're out and about in life, you just learn about stuff. Like school is preparing you for life. And like, it's gonna be hard, like going about life. And like sometimes you're gonna be talking to someone and they're gonna be like, I mean, granted, they're not gonna talk about a bunch of like geometry stuff, but they'll be like, hey, have you ever heard of blank before? And if you have a meltdown, it's gonna make life harder. But if you're just like, no, I haven't heard of blank before, tell me about it, it'll be easier. But all of life is school, bro. That's what they never tell you. All of life is learning stuff. And if you hold on to your innate curiosity for things that you don't know about yet, you're going to be okay.
We can build any cube in any orientation.
Dude, what is this guy talking about right now?
With just 11 objects. Now, a still image of a cube is nice, but what we really want is a cube that can move around and rotate in 3D, one that is animated. Luckily, now that we have a generalized precise method for making them, we can just program our computer to generate as many cubes as we want at lightning speed, which means
I don't think that code should ever exist.
We can just
ever again.
Generate one cube for every single...
Why write lines of code when we could just do this? And maybe that could make like software things happen.
Single frame of the animation, and then show each...
We don't know yet. We haven't tried it.
Cube one by one in quick succession using triggers. Except this doesn't actually work, because even though each cube is only a few objects, having tens of them on each frame over thousands of frames still adds up to a lot of objects. Like hundreds of thousands. No matter how you do it, trying to move through all of these objects in one animation will either be impossible or just crash the game. Instead, we have to do something
because of rendering limitations. Chat, I was joking before. Obviously, I know if you have a bunch of objects in a game, it's going to give you rendering issues. Obviously, I know that after it was explained to me.
Little more clever. So to make this work, I first had to write the 3D engine to calculate the projected positions of the cubes. But I mean, at this point, that's really neither here nor there. Anyways, I first sketched out all the cubes and their movement in a 3D animation program, and then I wrote a Python script that gets the position and rotation of every cube on each frame of the animation, and saves it all into my own little file format that the 3D engine can read and process. And that data then goes into 5,000 lines of Rust code I wrote, which uses it to construct...
Not Rust! No! This is how you... Dude, I could have told you this guy was a Rust guy. Of course he is. He's a damn genius.
Cube on each frame out of Geometry Dash objects with the method from earlier, which is then put into the level by injecting it into the Geometry Dash save file. Instead of putting all the cubes into one big frame-by-frame animation, the code divides them into thousands of...
This is the thing though, like, because usually, yeah, again, not to shout it out, but I worked 4 years as a software engineer. You meet a lot of very intelligent people while doing that. The thing is, most intelligent people are also, or they can't also eloquently articulate the reason why they understand things. Like a common attribute of very smart people is they're not the best communicators. When you have someone like this, who is obviously book intelligent, but can also like demonstrate their knowledge and also like put it in a consumable way and make it like, you know, we're not understanding the full depth of it, but the fact that he can even articulate it to any degree that we can kind of understand, that's scary. That's a scary kind of thing.
tiny animations so that each one only contains a small number of objects. And then I developed an intricate system to make sure the game only ever loads in the single current animation, so that
He keeps developing systems, bro.
all the other hundreds of thousands of objects are not included in the calculation, practically eliminating all lag this animation would otherwise cause. I used the cubes as obstacles in both parts, and then to transition between them, I recreated every other illusion in the level as 3D objects in a 3D animation program, so that I could just animate the transition. I then rendered each frame of the transition as an image and recreated each image out of objects in the game by running a genetic algorithm that
Please subscribe to Sputniks.
simulates evolution on Geometry Dash objects to optimize them to look like a given frame of the animation. And wow, it looks so cool, and now that they're connected, both of these parts are finished, and it only took 1.5 years. It took.
And people make these levels for free, by the way. That's insane. Like, this was a hobby for him. You were trying to watch a whole movie on Netflix instead of being stuck doom scrolling on TikTok, while this guy was just hobby building a whole freaking, like, I can't even put into words. This was a Tuesday for him, while you were just trying to freaking decide what to watch. Did that make any sense? My brain short-circuited.
A few 1.5 years to finish a total of 20 seconds of a Geometry Dash level.
Ah!
The funny thing about spending this much time on one project is that at the start, you were driven by this deep enthusiastic interest for the things you were making.
I relate.
Now, the only thing keeping you going is pure willpower.
Yep.
Like, it's gotten to the point where you're learning time management strategies.
He's getting philosophical. Wait, I can actually add something of value to the conversation because my brain thinks about this stuff.
And developing good working habits to make a goddamn Geometry Dash level, but it still took you 1.5 years to finish just 20 seconds. I mean, let's admit it, you're never finishing this, especially not before
No, believe in yourself. But I know the reason why he keeps adding all this negative self-talk. I think it's a very effective narrative strategy. The reason why he's including the negative self-talk, and I think like this is to Sputniks' credit. He wants to highlight that throughout this journey that he was enduring, this test of willpower and his dedication, because motivation, a lot of people struggle with this, chat. A lot of people think that motivation is this thing that successful people are able to just like continuously channel. I'm here to tell you, motivation is fleeting. It is a fickle beast. You can't wait to be motivated. Sometimes you just got to roll up your sleeves and stick your hand as far as it can go. Stick it as far as it can go. And just keep on trying. Keep on trying and push your hand at like... What I'm trying to say is that it's hard sometimes, man. And sometimes your negative thoughts are going to win. But even a guy as smart as this guy, even a guy who has built this whole 3D level in a 2D game, he also goes through the negative thoughts. But he didn't let the negative thoughts pull him out of it. He just kept on reaching. Even on days he didn't want to reach, he kept on reaching. Reaching as far as he could go, further than he ever thought possible. He kept on reaching for it. And eventually, he's going to grab it, man. He's going to grab the finish line. He's going to grab the finish line. But he doesn't get there by letting letting the demons come in. This is the thing. We all have the demons. We all have to overcome the demons. You're not good enough. You're never going to get it done. You can't do this. You're an imposter. Who do you think you are? Why would you deserve this? The list goes on and on and on. Pull your sleeves up. Keep on reaching.
Up fundamentally changes the game with this giant update, which is somehow still just a couple of months away. This is over. Trying to continue this would just be a waste of time.
The analogy was like climbing a freaking mountain. I know everyone else has already moved past it. It's like it's climbing a mountain. There's always going to be another mountain and you're always going to want to make it move. Sorry, I'll keep watching the video.
But I guess now that you have a completed section of the level, you can at least upload that to the internet. Just so that all the thousands of hours you spent making it don't go entirely to waste. I mean, it would be a shame if nobody other than you and RobTop were to ever see this.
I don't think that's a problem. You have almost 8 million views on this video. But obviously at the time you didn't know you'd get that.
Let's call it a level preview, just to keep our doors open, you know? And now that you're making it public, the name you give the level will be really set in stone, so make sure you pick a really stupid one that you'll really regret. Oh, and also go like super overly dramatic.
I would have called it Dynamic Dino Day. Dynamic Dino Days. Not days like D-A-Y-S, D-A-Z-E. Dynamic Dino Days. And you're like, TJ, where did you pull that out from? Can I point out to you that each of those words starts with a D, and there's 3 of them?
With it, kind of like...
You give me no credit.
Well, I guess it's finally over. 1.5 years of work wasted. At least people seem to like it. Really like it. I mean, most people are still just asking you to recreate Doom, but some people seem really enthusiastically interested in it. And they really want you to finish it too, which is too bad because, again, you're never finishing this. Even trying to do that would just be a ginormous waste of... Take a look at this 3D rocket ship. To make it, I first used that programming language I made earlier again to make the...
I think posting the preview could be seen as a bad idea in retrospect because now you have the pressure of a million eyes on you waiting for you to finish the level. Yeah, dude. And that's, we've talked about it before on stream, but yeah, it's what there's a psychological phenomenon behind this, specifically with ADHD individuals. So I'll speak to that. It's the whole idea, and maybe some people in chat have experienced this before. It's where like you have a super good idea for something like, oh, I'm going to make a video game and I'm going to make it about this. And I want like all this stuff to happen. And then you're so excited about it. And then you tell a friend about this great big idea you have. And then since your ADHD brain craves novelty so much, you already felt good about just talking about the idea. You're not going to put any sort of fucking effort into actually doing it. You just like coming up with ideas and talking about it and telling somebody about it. So if you have ADHD or that kind of neurodivergence, here's a little tip for you. When you're excited about something, don't tell anybody. Because sometimes when you tell somebody about something you're excited about doing, it robs you of that drive to do it. I've experienced this a myriad of times in my own life. A myriad. I am not saying this is a failure on your part. It's just the way some of our brains work. It hits too close to home. I'm saying, dude. Sometimes it's just like, we all have a capacity for great ideas. It's just sometimes our brain self-sabotages. It's like, wow, it was really fun to talk about that idea. On to the next one.
Controls and physics work. And then I modeled the ship.
Sorry, that's all to say. You have to deal with that because one, actually showcasing the big idea you have is just like a reward in and of itself. But also you now have all the people like, wow, what a cool idea. What a cool idea. What if it's this? What if it's this? What if it's this? And you're just like, what if it's not that? What if it's not that? What if it's this? What if it's this? Ah!
In 3D so that I could use it as a reference for 50 handmade ship frames, 5 frames for rotation with 10 perspective variations for each. The trail of the ship is a bit more interesting, and while it may look complex, it's actually made entirely from this one strange little dotted...
And it's crazy that this is a face. This is the eye, this is the other eye, and this is the mouth.
Decoration objects. See, if you've ever
Do you think that that observation was pertinent to the React? Let me know down in the comments.
Spun around something helix shaped, like this spring, you'll notice that it kinda looks like it's actually moving up or down. Now, this is just an illusion, but we can use this illusion to make it look like there's a 3D jet stream moving out of our rocket. If we stack this quirky little object on top of itself hundreds of times...
Okay, well, don't call it quirky. It's not a quirky object. It's a very serious face. I specifically designed this object. If you're going to use one of my objects in your level, put respect on its name. Now it's not a face, actually. Now it's the head of like a character, and these are its 2 fists, and you can fill in the belly right here, and it has 2 floppy feet right there as well.
And rotate it a tiny bit for each layer, we get something that
Are we all following?
looks suspiciously like a helix. And if we now spin every individual object at the same time, it looks like the whole thing is moving towards you. And just like with the spiral, we can make this even more
His name is Jerry. I'm shocked that you knew that somehow,
convincing by just putting
because I hadn't said it yet,
2 on top of each other. We can now use the same technique we used in the wave
but you are correct.
trail to make the movement of the player cascade through all the objects, making the whole thing look like a solid jet of sci-fi plasmic goo streaming out of our rocket, rather than just a bunch of weird little dots moving and spinning around. Anyways,
Those aren't weird little dots there. You already get the bit. Now they kind of look like pebbles. They kind of look like a gravelly path in a video game now. Sorry. My brain likes to find patterns where there aren't patterns.
I then built a rotating nebula thing for the background, and after that, I 3D modeled a huge comment field and wrote a program that tracks every edge on every comment and star on each frame and renders them out of Geometry Dash lines and glow objects, which is then fed into the animation system for the cubes in the previous parts, from which I also reused the spirals to create these cool flashes as the ship approaches warp speed.
Bro, I thought my stream crashed. No, I just didn't want to say that I was about to say that I'm on the spectrum, but I feel like it's just redundant to say that on the stream at this point. So like I stopped myself from saying it.
Or whatever it's doing. Wow, that part actually went pretty fast. That's half the level done. If you continue at this rate, you could finish the level in just 1 more year.
Do you sometimes stare at a wall or ceiling and try to find animals and faces? All the time.
Surely that will go totally fine and nothing
One of my favorite pastimes.
will come up that will totally ruin that dream for you forever.
Geometry Dash has been out for 10 years. Wait, actually I knew that. Wait, yeah, it came out in 2013. Sorry. I'm Unk, so the passage, like, it's weird. You can see time as like 2 years ago, but then when you see it as like the actual chunk of time, you're just like, damn, bro. That was a whole ass decade ago. Yeah, it's turning 13 soon. Jeez. It can almost vote. It's not okay, bro. It's crazy. Cool game. Agreed. The game is older than most of its player base, but that's a beautiful thing. The older a game gets, it's like, it's cool that new generations can age into playing it, you know? Like, I wish more people played, what's one of my old favorite games? Old school RuneScape, but a lot of the appeal of old school RuneScape is having Jagex infect your brain at a young age back in circa 2006. I wish that as many kids these days were getting into old school RuneScape the way they're getting into Geometry Dash, but they aren't. You know why? No, like, do you know why? I think it's a good game. What month? No, sorry. Okay, so this is the first time I'm going to push back on Sputniks here. The current month is not August. The current month is March. Are we all on the same page here? It's March right now.
That's just a few months away. I mean, it's been just a few months away for 7 years, but now it's actually for sure exactly
No? Can't be helped.
2.5 months away. You took 2 years to finish the first half of this level, and now you have to finish the whole second half in just 2.
Oh, it's because of time zones? Oh, so it's just August for Sputniks right now. Okay.
2.5 months, less the whole game practically stops existing. And you can't rush it because you'll disappoint the literal 1.5 million people who've already seen the start of it. I mean, okay, I know this is hard to swallow, but let's admit it, this is never happening. Trying to finish this would either be a huge waste of time.
Now, Sputniks, okay, you can keep on saying the negative self-talk, but we both know we're 5 minutes from the end of the video. Let's stop farming, bro. We know you're that guy. Just go ahead and show us. Show us. Show us the big finished product that's going to make us all go, wow.
or terrible impact on your health. It's a fucking Geometry Dash level. It's just not worth it. But you don't care about that, do you, Sputnik?
He spent years on this. He deserves to farm a bit. No.
You don't care about my physical or mental well-being. All you care about is having a stupid level up on the Geometry Dash servers. Whatever it takes, huh? You know we can stop, right? You know we can just do other things and forget about this. You know that, right? So let's start by simulating a huge explosion using our cube generator, which will transition us into a giant over-the-top title sequence, which will look really stupid because of the name you picked, but we don't have time to think about that. Let's first build each letter in 5 different fonts and then write a script to extract them from the game and animate them by tracking the lines of this 3D animation. And then at the drop, they will start switching fonts and go really crazy and look really cool. But before that, let's use our line tracker thing again to track this crazy animated floor pattern and then put all the frames on top of each other and make them all slowly fade in and out. And then add some particles, some random cubes. Yeah, sure. Oh great, there's just 30 days left. I'm not even super extremely worried about that. Let's just, I don't know, precisely recreate the standard Geometry Dash cube and use the thing we made for the letters to make them float into a precisely recreated empty Geometry Dash level, which then transitions into a sick montage of precise recreations of 23 cool levels you like, which isn't really 3D, but it still kinda has some depth, I guess. I don't know. But even if it looks cool, why would you choose to recreate 23 different levels which are all on the screen for a fraction of a second if you only have 3 weeks left? The funny thing about sleep schedules is, and then the cube jumps into 3D again before jumping into 4D, which you made by programming a 4D hypercube in 3D software and putting that into the 2D game by using your line tracker thing. And after that, just, I don't know, simulate another big explosion of cubes in the background. You have 5 days left. Oh god. Do a cool spinny thing into the GD logo, which is mostly just there to make sure future people know you made it in this update. And then animate your own logo and, I don't know, simulate some birds and add them.
Wow, birdies. Hey.
After you upload your level, a couple of unfortunate things happen.
Wow.
The first thing that happens is that the entire Geometry Dash server shuts down because apparently thousands of people trying to load one of the most object-dense—
Wait, someone earlier in chat said that it broke the GD servers. They weren't joking. I thought that was bait.
levels ever made at the same time.
That's cool.
Is not something it was built to handle. The second thing that happens is that
Bird.
due to a weird implementation detail in the Windows version of the game,
Chat, do you like birds? I think they're pretty.
every PC user instantly crashes when trying to load the level, which means that, ironically, the level runs completely fine on an old mobile phone but crashes your $5,000 gaming PC. Either way, this means that the level can't be officially featured or endorsed in-game in any way and will basically not be considered a real level. Great. But for the people who have been able to play the level, they seem to really like it. Videos of your level gain hundreds of
I love birds, but fuck seagulls. Can we not talk about your personal life in chat?
thousands of views, and it even shoots to the top of Reddit.
I'm sorry.
Aside from the 3D effects, some people seem to see it as a sort of conclusion to this era of the game. These are the sort of things that used to make you really excited, but now it feels as if that excitement is hidden behind 100 layers of dread. I mean, it went okay, I guess, but it sure would be better if it was perfect. But maybe if you just optimize it a bit, you could shave off enough objects to make it
Will you play this? Oh,
load on every platform.
should I?
You would need to somehow remove 200,000 objects, but maybe if you significantly lower the frame rate of the animation parts, you could interpolate the movement of each cube between each frame using move triggers. And it kinda works, except it looks horrible, but maybe if you just keep adjusting it. And then you realize that what's actually happening is that you've forgotten what it's like not to work on this stupid thing, so you stop. And soon this whole endeavor starts to feel more and more like just a series of frustrations you had and have overcome, getting smaller as it gets further away from you.
The vanishing point. Do y'all remember from the beginning of the video that this was the same clip?
And eventually the update will come out, and eventually people will expect you to make something even bigger and even better.
Whoa, this was made in GD?
As if the limitations of the previous update were
Dude, they got kangaroos in GD.
somehow holding your stuff back,
Whoa.
and not what made it interesting in the first place. But you're not here to learn about me, are you? You probably think
I'd love to know more about you, Sputniks. Yeah, try me.
you already know me. One thing you don't know, however, is what there even is to do here on the other side.
Be proud of your accomplishments and the long, arduous journey that you went through. You went through even the toughest parts, even the parts where you were filled with self-doubt and self-criticism, and you came out the other side and people loved the level you created and now view you as a as one of the top creators of the whole game. And you should not just rest on your laurels and feel pride in it, but really, you did that. That's you experienced a great victory in humanity. And you couldn't have done that if you didn't overcome the rough patches and keep pushing through and doing your best and putting your best foot forward. But what's he actually going to say?
Well, I'll tell you right now, you have a couple of options. You could either write a 24-minute video complaining to your past self about their stupid choices, or you could just lay down, close your eyes, and think about something else for once in your life.
That's another good option.
Maybe then I'll figure it out.
Nature. Very nice.
What the hell is this?
That's grass, Sputniks. Wait, so did he actually take his own advice? Has he taken a break now? No! He's the one who made the video that is really good that everyone said won an award this year. We're going to watch this on Monday's stream chat. I didn't realize this was also a Sputniks video. Okay, so he didn't really take enough of a break. That was cool, though. Thanks for the video, Sputniks. Y'all be sure to like and subscribe to him. That was very cool. I have not watched a video like that. That was a wild ride. That was very good. That was W content. Did you like that? Don't even pretend like you didn't. You made it that far in the video. Well, did you know that I stream Monday through Friday on Twitch and YouTube, and you could catch me live and get to be a part of the experience when it happens? Also, if you don't care about that, or otherwise you want to see more of the video that you just watched, link in the description to watch the full VOD. Do that, please. I have a black eye because I play basketball sometimes. Bye. Oh,